Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Doya Kodomo Re Toma Mina Ke Dayalu Jagata Samsare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय श्री राधा गोवर्धनधारी भगवान की, कृष्णा बलराम भगवान की, गिरिराज महाराज की, नरसिंहदेव भगवान की, श्री श्री गौरानिताय भगवान की, गौर प्रेमानंदी. So today we are reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 17, text 218. Please repeat after me. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Narayan Laile Tina Nama, Bada Bhagavan Tumi Bada Punyavan, Hare Krishna Narayana Laila Tina Nam, Bada Bhagavan Tumi Bada Punyavan. Prabhus? Hare Hare Krishna Narayana the holy names of Lord Hari, Lord Krishna, and Lord Narayan. Laile, you have taken Tina, 3 Nama, holy names, Bara, very much, Bhagavan, fortunate, to me, you are, Bara, very much, Punyavan, pious. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Because you have chanted 3 holy names of the Lord, Hari, Krishna, and Narayan, you are undoubtedly the most fortunate and pious. Please repeat after me. Because you have chanted 3 holy names of the Lord, Hari, Krishna, and Narayan, you are undoubtedly the most fortunate and pious. Here the Supreme Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that anyone who chants the holy names Hari, Krishna, and Narayan without offense is certainly extremely fortunate. And whether Indian or non-Indian, Hindu or non-Hindu, he immediately comes to the level of the most pious personality. We therefore do not care about the statements of Pasandis who protest against our movements making the members of other cities or countries into Vaishnavas. We have to follow in the footsteps of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, executing our mission peacefully, or, if necessary, kicking the heads of such protesters. So, discuss a few points from this purport. What's happened so far, bringing us to this point, is that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he organized a big protest march, as we know. And he organized this march because the Chandkazi, which is the ruler of the district of Nadia, he had put in place a rule that nobody should chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra anymore. And the devotees became very upset, and Lord Caitanya immediately, he came up with this plan of this civil disobedience, so a protest. And many people, thousands of devotees assembled, and in the evening time they took burning torchlights and they walked to the different places of Nadia, singing very loudly Harinam Sankirtan, singing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And by the time they reached the Chandkazi's house, he was shaking in fear and hiding inside the house. And what happened then is he didn't come out, and some of Lord Chaitanya's followers who were in the protest march, they actually started destroying his garden. And Lord Chaitanya pacified them, and he didn't go inside himself first, but he sent like a senior devotee, a senior associate of his, who went inside, and he gradually drew out the Chandkazi. And then Lord Chaitanya and Chandkazi, they had a very nice discussion, very nice civil discussion, respectful discussion. And during the course of that discussion, the Chandkazi actually addressed Lord Chaitanya as his nephew, because they weren't related by blood, but village relationships were very strong. And so he addressed him as, Lord Chaitanya addressed him as Chacha. And then this discussion that followed, so we are at the tail end of this discussion now, and what's happening is that just the verse before this, 217 and 216, is that, so the Chandkazi, what he has said is that I know that Narayan is the supreme god of the Hindus, and I think that you are the same Narayan. This I feel within my mind. So he actually recognized Lord Chaitanya as the supreme personality of Godhead, which is very interesting, and which is something that some devotees nowadays actually struggle to accept. And in India also, you find that a lot of people, generally, the general populace, they know Krishna, they know Lord Ram, but when you talk of Lord Chaitanya, they don't know that he is an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, specific to Kali Yuga. So he is the hidden incarnation for this age. And it is marvelous that the Chandkazi was able to recognize him. So then the next thing that happened is that when the Chandkazi spoke so nicely and said, I recognize you, then Lord Chaitanya touched him and he said that this chanting, you have chanted the holy names. And this chanting of Krishna from your mouth has performed a wonder. It's nullified the reactions of your sinful activities. Now you have become supremely pure. So then that brings us to today's verse, which is that this, so further Lord Chaitanya confirms this. He confirms that the Chandkazi got purified. And what he says is, because you have chanted these three holy names of Lord Hari, Krishna and Narayan, you are undoubtedly the most fortunate and pious. So, what Lord Chaitanya is confirming here, that a question might arise actually, that he just said those three names and he said it like only once. And here we are chanting and chanting every day, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours if we are tired. And how come we are not, that purified? Whereas Lord Chaitanya says that Chandkazi he was undoubtedly the most fortunate and pious and become supremely pure. So how has this happened so quickly for the Chandkazi? And the answer is that anyone who chants without offense. So if we are offensive or inattentive in our chanting, then we don't really attain the supreme goal. And we don't really get purified as quickly as we should. However, there are even Nama-bhas chanting, even chanting as a joke, etc., has wonderful benefits and has the potency to nullify all sins. So I'll talk about that later on. So the main thing is that chanting without offense is extremely fortunate, and that when one does this without offense, then immediately, even in a millisecond, the scriptures describe, we can become elevated to the transcendental platform immediately. And it's also said that if one is chanting for many lifetimes, many years, hundreds and thousands of years, but not really attaining the goal, not really getting spiritually purified, the reason is offenses. So every morning we do recite the 10 offenses against the holy name. It's over there printed out. And it's really, really important that if we want to attain the supreme goal of life, which is Krishna Prema, if we want to realize who we are, and we want to become active in our service as servants of the Lord with the right understanding, then we actually need to try to chant without offense. And when one starts chanting, there are 3 stages of the chanting. So firstly, it is the offensive stage. Firstly, meaning to say, when somebody first starts chanting, there might be many offenses along the way. And then there comes the clearing stage. As the holy name starts acting, the cleansing comes from inside. Externally, we don't have to change too much. But internally, the cleansing happens, and automatically we feel we don't need to do that, we don't need to do that. So we get rid of all the unfavorable things and start accepting all the favorable things. Then the third thing which happens is the pure stage. So the offensive stage, the clearing stage, and then the pure stage. which we gradually attain. So these are the 3 stages. And the other point being made in this purport is that it doesn't matter whether one is Indian or not Indian, Hindu or not Hindu, he can immediately come to the level of the most pious personality, immediately become very pure. So some things to say about this are that, as we know, the discussion is between Lord Caitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Nama Avatara, who is specifically descended in this age to spread the holy name around, to show us by his example, and the Chandkazi. This discussion is between Lord Caitanya and Chandkazi, who is the Muslim ruler, the Muslim king of that area. So, and Muslim means he's following the Islam tradition. So, the point being made is it doesn't really matter what religion you are following. You can be a Christian, you can be a Catholic, you can be a Hindu or a Muslim or anything else. It doesn't really matter. It also doesn't matter what body we are in, whether we are in Indian bodies or Western bodies or Asian bodies, it doesn't matter. Because the holy name acts, the holy name is not coming from the material platform, it's coming from the spiritual platform, as we know. And oftentimes we hear, listening to Prabhupada lectures, we hear Prabhupada emphasizes, and also in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the introduction, Prabhupada is saying that especially those in Indian bodies who have taken birth in the land of India, they have this duty to propagate, to preach. So, and he says that, also he says, and I was just listening to this last night, that people who have taken birth in India, they are very fortunate, automatically very fortunate, because they have this natural inclination, supposed to have a natural inclination, which comes quite naturally because the whole sort of area is, everything really, even the names of the streets are, based on spiritual things. So it can be very easy, if one is so inclined, it can be very, very easy to be God conscious in India. But unfortunately we see, of course, things coming full circle, and the Asian, the Western countries becoming more Eastern, you could say, and the other way around. And unfortunately, when the Eastern countries take to the Western side of the culture, then all the negative things, such as breaking the 4 regulative principles, all the negative things become more prominent. So, however, Prabhupada does emphasize this, that it is very easy. So, we shouldn't, however, think that because I'm born in India, but I'm not actually, but because one is born in India, that they have an advantage. They do actually, but if they don't use it, then there's no point. And in this day and age, that is why, exactly why Lord Caitanya, Srila Prabhupada is saying that we don't care for such designations. What we care about, and he's very, very strong, he says, people who have such misconceptions and who try to stop the chanting of the holy name by everyone, that these people, they're called pasandis, and they should be kicked in the heads. So it's very strong. So there is no disadvantage to being born in any country of the world because of the mercy of Lord Caitanya. The holy name has to go to every town and village. And it is our responsibility as practitioners of the movement to take the holy name to every town and village. We have to follow in the footsteps of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and we have to execute our mission peacefully. So Prabhupada is very, very broad-minded, from one extreme to another, that we execute the mission peacefully. However, if somebody is ignorantly stuck on ritualistic, material, bodily designation, we kick them in the heads. So that's Prabhupada. So what I wanted to say is about the potency of the holy names, Hari, Krishna and Narayan, and emphasizing again the importance of chanting without offense, because the holy name is actually transcendental. Krishna's names are transcendental, and the Chandkazi, when he was talking to Lord Caitanya, remember I said he was very scared in the beginning and he had been hiding. So when he was talking, he was actually really, really sincere, really earnest, and absolutely believing fully everything that he was saying. So he was being genuine and without offense. Therefore, Lord Caitanya said that you have become supremely pure. So the other thing is that when one chants, it is not simply a mechanical thing. It's not simply just moving the mouth and the tongue and the lips mechanically. It's because the holy name is coming from the spiritual sky, it's transcendental and it's a transcendental sound vibration. So we are using this instrument of this body, of course, to mechanically do that, to actually do that physically, but it's not supposed to be mechanical, ritualistic, just done for the sake of it. It's meant to be done with intent, with purpose, and with consciousness, not with inattention. It is said that inattention is the root cause of all the other 10 offenses. So the other 10 offenses are, again, they're there, and if we do recite it every morning, and it's very, very important that we really become familiar with these offenses and how to avoid them, because that's the way we are going to get the fruit of all our chanting. Otherwise, it's described, you can go on chanting for lifetimes, but you won't really get anywhere if you're not chanting nicely. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada, he has he's said some things about, he gave a very, very potent lecture about the chanting of the holy names, and I want to speak a few points from it. And what Prabhupada is saying is that chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the sublime method of reviving our Krishna consciousness. So sublime means something not just sweet, but very, very sweet, like very, very nice. Like, when we come to the temple, the deities are so beautiful, the kirtan is so beautiful, everything is so nice, the association of the devotees. And it's easy to, this method, like all these things are there. And the most sublime is the chanting of the holy name. It is so easy that, actually it will be explained later in this purport too, that anyone can do it. And it's not too difficult at all, and this is because this is Kali Yuga. And so Kali Yuga being the most degraded age, and people having short lives and being unintelligent and lazy and misguided, like all these things, unfortunately, are the characteristics of Kali Yuga. So the way, therefore, out of their mercy, the Lordships have given us this very, very easy method of reviving who we really are, because we've forgotten when we've come here. So, as spiritual souls, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities, but due to our association with matter. So when we come to this material universe, the material covering becomes very dense and very thick, and we can fall into ignorance and forgetfulness. And that forgetfulness is described as the most fearsome thing. To forget Krishna is the most fearsome thing. So devotees, when they pray, "Dear Lord, please never, never let me forget you. Let me always remember you and never forget you." That's the golden rule. Can I always remember Krishna and never forget him? Because as a punishment, You might remember the pastime of Jay and Vijay, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, when they were being punished, and they said, well, you can take 3 births as devotees, or you can take many births as demons. 3 births as demons, or so they chose to be demons because they said, we don't want to, please don't send, they prayed, please don't send us to hell, because if you send us to hell, we'll forget you, Krishna. So don't send us to hell. So this is how they were praying. And so this is the prayer that we must have also, that we never forget Krishna. This material atmosphere is called Maya, or illusion. Maya means that which is not. This illusion is that we are all trying to be lords of material nature, whereas we are actually under the grip of her stringent laws. It's the opposite. We are under the laws. We are in this prison house of this material world, it is described. And Maya Devi, Durga Devi, she is the prison warden. And if we do something wrong materially, everything is under Maya Devi's control here, Durga Devi's control in this material universe, and she punishes us. So when a servant artificially tries to imitate Krishna, that is called illusion. In this polluted concept of life, we are all trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in her complexities. So this is the law of karma. If we are doing something and it is not, the rewards and the results of that is not being offered to Krishna, we actually become further and further entangled in karma. So the opposite of this is that when we use material energy, we need to use that in Krishna's service. And then that is true Krishna consciousness. Rather than using material energy for our own selves, to satisfy our own selves and forgetting about Krishna. We need to always keep Krishna in the center. And that way, instead of becoming entangled in the laws, we become more and more liberated because we are giving it all to Krishna. So it is a hard struggle to conquer nature. We are very dependent on her. This illusory struggle against material nature can be stopped at once by revival of our Krishna consciousness. The scriptures describe that if we are just struggling on our own and not turning to Krishna, not becoming Krishna conscious, then the whole material life is like an ocean of suffering. Big ocean, which is like you can't even cross over, this big ocean of suffering. But for one who has become Krishna conscious, this material ocean shrinks that small, to the size of a calf's hoof print. And the water in it is like so tiny. And so very easily one can, as a devotee, just jump over this material suffering. So this is the greatest, one of the greatest boons we get, that our material suffering when we take to Krishna consciousness is minimized. It's not an artificial, Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It is the original energy of the living entity. When we hear this transcendental sound vibration, this spiritual consciousness is revived. This process is recommended for this age by authorities. By practical experience, one can perceive that by chanting this Maha Mantra or the great chants for deliverance, one can at once feel a transcendental ecstasy coming through from the spiritual stratum. When one is factually on the plane of spiritual understanding, surpassing the stages of the senses, the mind and intelligence, one is situated on the transcendental plane. This chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly enacted from the spiritual platform, and thus this sound vibration surpasses all lower strata of consciousness, namely sensual, mental and intellectual. There is no need to understand the language of the mantra because it will still act. We don't need to give it different meanings. Just like it's described, fire will still burn, whether one who knows or whether a child touches it, fire will still burn. So in the same way, the holy name will still act whether we understand the language or not, as long as we are chanting with sincerity. and that even a child can take part in this chanting, even a dog can take part in it. And of course, if one is too entangled in material life, it takes a little more time to come to the spiritual platform, but even such a grossly and materially engaged man can come to the spiritual platform very quickly. And when the mantra is chanted by a pure devotee of the Lord in love, it has the greatest efficacy on the hearers. And as such, this chanting should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee of the Lord, so that immediate effects can be achieved. So then Prabhupada goes on to describe what the whole Hare Krishna Maha Mantra means. And this I'm reading from the Vaishnava songbook. The Prabhupada's lecture is in this songbook, and it's marvelous. It's a very potent lecture, and all the main points are there. So I will request you to read that and understand it more. One other thing that I wanted to say before we finish class for today is the potency, how powerful this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is, how powerful the names of Lord Krishna is. And one of the things that I wanted to say is that it's in this verse. It said the Chandkazi, he chanted 3 different names. He chanted Hari and Narayan and Krishna, and they are all names of Krishna, as we know. However, in this age of Kali Yuga, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is this 16-word Maha Mantra is the great chant for deliverance. It is the specific mantra, the greatest for this particular time of the cycle. And it is mentioned in the Upanishad, the Kali Shantanaran Upanishad, that this is the main mantra for this age, and that all the other mantras and all the other names of the Lord are in this mantra. So we don't actually have to chant any other mantra, and if we just chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then it is all there. So okay, let's just start from 1. So the benefits of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, just very quickly, is that in this age of Kali, the only means of spiritual salvation is the chanting of Krishna's holy name, which we know that. Kalau naste eva gatir anyatha. So that's the only way in Kali Yuga. The only way to go back to Godhead, the only way to revive our spiritual consciousness is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Number 2 is that it destroys all sins. As we read in today's purport, it destroys all sins. And Ajamil, who was a Brahmin previously but who had become very sinful, he chanted the holy name Narayan lying on his deathbed, and immediately he became absolved of all his innumerable sins. And that there are different rituals that can be done and different vows that can be taken, but all of them are insignificant, entirely insignificant in comparison to chanting the holy name. So sometimes we might think that we need to do something different, like sleeping on a hard floor, or bathing in cold water only, all of these things, which are good things to do. There are austerities, but the only reason to perform austerities like that, which is austerities meaning giving the body a bit of a hard time, is to offer the benefits to Radha and Krishna. Otherwise, doing austerity for the sake of austerity, doing penance and austerity like that, it simply makes the heart hard. It just makes the heart hard. I mean, I'll give you a very graphic example, is that just last year, Radha Kund is the most spiritually potent area. And it was during Kartik actually, there was a sadhu who was walking through Radhakund, and externally he was a sadhu, but internally not. So what happened is a child ran across his path, and he was obviously doing parikrama or something. A 5-year-old child ran across his path, and he unfortunately picked up this child and smashed him. And the child died. And this happened at Radhakund. Sorry. But the reason I brought this up is, austerity. He wasn't a Hare Krishna devotee, he wasn't an ISKCON devotee, but he was performing so many austerities, and probably extra austerities for Kartik, that the very essence was lost. The heart became hard. It was like, I need to do this parikrama. Who's this child in the way? Get out of my way. And, so you can see, just doing austerity and penance for the sake of it is not what will make Krishna pleased. And when, our lives, we can see it, okay, it's Kartik, I maybe should give up sweets, okay, I've given up sweets, oh no, I'm really cranky now, I can't have my sweets. So, for us, it can manifest like being really irritable or cranky. And so, if something is not making us Krishna conscious, it's an unfavorable thing. And we need to focus on the essence, and the essence is chanting the holy name of the Lord without offenses. So there are many advantages of chanting the holy name of the Lord. One of them is also that it not only burns your current sins, but it also burns the sins that we are yet to suffer. It also burns that in the seed form in the heart. The fire of chanting Lord Govinda's name quickly burns away the reactions to sinful activities that have accumulated not only in this life but many past lives. And that the holy name cures all diseases. That chanting the name of Krishna cures all diseases, because the diseases die out in fear. So the main disease it cures is the disease of material identification. That we tend to identify that I am brown, I'm black, I'm white, I'm yellow, I'm Indian, I'm Western, I'm Balinese, we tend to identify, I'm a doctor, I'm a father, we tend to identify with all these material designations, whereas our actual designation is that we are spirit soul and we are the servant of the Lord. So just chanting is the main austerity that we need to be doing, and especially in Kali Yuga, and especially also during Kartik, like if we are trying to do more austerities, it's wonderful, but it should not be at the cost of getting hard-hearted. It should be doing the opposite. It should be making us soft-hearted, and then we know, okay, it's actually working and I'm doing it with the right consciousness. There's so many wonderful 15 things, and this is the last thing I want to say, is that every name of Lord Vishnu, so all the other names, Narayan, Hari, Govinda, all these names is superior to all the Vedas. Rama, the name Rama, is superior to 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. So if one is saying Vishnu, Rama and Rama, so one Rama is equal to 1,000 Vishnu. And that 3 names of Vishnu is equal to 1 Krishna. So we can see how powerful Krishna is, the name Krishna is. The result which is achieved by chanting 1,000 names of Vishnu 3 times is the same as attained by chanting the holy name of Krishna just once. Chanting these 16 holy names, which is the Maha Mantra, all spiritual obligations are satisfied, and in fact, like I was saying, there's 15 things in this article, this particular article. One of those things is that we don't even have to travel to all the places of pilgrimage, and because just by chanting the holy name of the Lord, it means that in previous lifetimes one's already done that, and it also even if one hasn't done that, just by chanting, that is all automatically fulfilled, and we don't actually have to do that. Of course, it is good to do that if we can, because the impressions that we get within our mind by visiting these holy places are much more potent. And also going to the holy dham is one of the 9 processes of devotional service, and the spiritual atmosphere there is something that really elevates our spiritual life markedly. So, anyone have any questions or comments? Anything additional? Or any points they would like to clarify? Okay, I've got 2 minutes. I won't waste it. Oh, okay.
You said before that there's the 3 stages. There's the offensive stage, then the clearing stage, and then the purification stage. Is it probable that will take many lifetimes?
Yes and no. Yes, it can take many lifetimes if one is not chanting with attention and committing offenses. No, if one is just sincerely taking up beads and just chanting genuinely, sincerely, it happens quite quickly. It can happen even in a millisecond. It also depends on how deeply materialistic one is. It can take some time to change the mindset, but no, generally, because it is so potent, it just can act immediately depending on how sincere the person is. So 2 things to say is, one thing is from the Bhagavad Gita, and the other thing is what Prabhupada said. So Prabhupada said, and this is from the lecture I happened to chance upon last night, he says, look at all of these people sitting here. This is the true miracle. This is a true miracle. All of these Western boys and girls, they have given up these gross material activities. They've given up drugs, they've given up alcohol, they've given up illicit sex, they've given up their, families. This is the real miracle. So he was, in a lecture, and this is what he was saying. And this is only because of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So that's one thing. So very, very potent and powerful. Oh, and Prabhupada was saying this in answer to somebody who'd asked a question that the guru should be somebody who can perform miracles. The guru should be somebody who can, do magic and manifest things out of thin air and, like garlands or gold or things like that. And Prabhupada very strongly said, no. The true miracle is people who are chanting and following based on them chanting the holy name. And the other thing I wanted to say is, in the Bhagavad Gita it is said that 4 types of people come to start seeking about Krishna, and that is if they are distressed, if they are inquisitive, if they are just seeking knowledge. So these 4 types of people, they come, and obviously if one is distressed, then there's a great impetus to, quite quickly, and the sincerity is therefore there. So in those, when one starts seeking or starts inquiring, finding out about Krishna, then it is, because it is an internal process, it just depends on one's sincerity. So it can happen quickly or can happen slowly, but it's upon us. So we can actually choose the speed of our spiritual life. We can choose, am I wanting to go slow? Am I wanting to go medium? Am I wanting to go fast? And then, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for your association. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Kartik Maas ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.